Things just got explosive in the world of gospel and megachurch ministry. A prominent bishop has publicly called out Jamal Bryant and Marvin Sapp, and the details are shocking. From accusations of hypocrisy to controversial decisions, what's really going on behind the scenes will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about these celebrated pastors. Stay tuned, because what we're about to reveal is making headlines and it's sparking major debate in the church community. Welcome back to the channel, where we uncover the most controversial and shocking stories in the world of gospel and megachurch ministries. Today we're diving deep into a story that has the entire church world buzzing, because a well-known bishop has publicly called out Jamal Bryant and Marvin Sapp. You might know these pastors as beloved leaders with millions of followers, powerful sermons, and chart-topping gospel hits. But behind the smiles and Sunday services, controversy is brewing. In this video, we'll break down exactly what the bishop said, the context behind his statements, and why these comments are stirring so much debate. By the end of this video, you'll understand the facts, the accusations, and the reactions from the gospel community, and you'll see why this story isn't just gossip. It's a wake-up call for anyone following these ministries. Make sure you stay until the very end, because the details we uncover later are truly shocking, and some of the reactions might surprise even the most loyal followers of these pastors. The controversy started when a prominent bishop, known for his bold statements and willingness to challenge even the most respected figures in the church, publicly addressed Jamal Bryant and Marvin Sapp. In a sermon that quickly went viral online, the bishop accused both pastors of what he called spiritual hypocrisy, claiming that their public personas as moral and spiritual leaders didn't always match their private actions or decisions. Specifically, the bishop highlighted financial and leadership controversies that have been circulating around both men. For Jamal Bryant, he referenced past allegations concerning financial mismanagement within his ministry and the high-profile personal controversies that have followed him for years. The bishop questioned whether these actions align with the teachings and moral standards Bryant preaches from the pulpit. For Marvin Sapp, the criticism was more focused on accountability and transparency. The bishop accused Sapp of avoiding critical questions about his ministry operations, as well as suggesting that some of the charitable work promoted publicly may not always reflect the full reality behind the scenes. What made the bishop's statements even more explosive was the way he framed them, not as personal attacks, but as a wake-up call to the church community. He emphasized that accountability isn't just about pastors following rules. It's about living with integrity and showing the congregation that leaders practice what they preach. The video of the bishop's sermon went viral almost immediately, sparking thousands of comments across social media. Fans defended Bryant and Sapp, arguing that these were exaggerations or misinterpretations, while critics praised the bishop for speaking the truth that many were too afraid to say publicly. But here's the part that has everyone talking, and it's where the story takes a darker turn. The bishop didn't just stop at general accusations, he hinted at specific incidents that he claims reveal inconsistencies in both pastors' public and private lives. The details he mentioned have yet to be fully confirmed, but the fact that such claims are now out in the open has already created a ripple effect in the gospel community. Now, let's break down the allegations and controversies that the bishop referenced, because this is where the story gets much more intense. Starting with Jamal Bryant. He has long been a figure both admired and criticized. Bryant is known for his fiery sermons and his ability to inspire thousands, but his ministry history is not without controversy. Over the years, reports have surfaced about financial mismanagement within his churches, including questions about how donations and offerings were being allocated. Some former members have claimed that certain funds intended for community projects or charity work were redirected to cover personal expenses or lavish events. While these allegations have never resulted in formal charges, they've followed Bryant throughout his career, and the bishop's comments brought them back into the concerns. Bryant's personal life has been scrutinized heavily. From high-profile relationships to legal disputes, critics argue that some of his actions have conflicted with the moral authority he projects from the pulpit. The bishop's sermon suggested that leaders like Bryant must be held accountable, not just by God, but by the congregation and the broader Christian community. The implication was clear. If a pastor's actions don't align with their teachings, it undermines trust and credibility. Turning to Marvin Sapp, the situation is somewhat different but equally compelling. Sapp is celebrated as one of gospel music's biggest stars, with a ministry and career that have spanned decades. But according to the bishop, There are questions about transparency and accountability in how Sapp manages his ministry operations. The bishop hinted that some of the public charitable initiatives Sapp promotes may not always reflect the behind-the-scenes reality. While no concrete evidence has been released yet, insiders say that church staff and former associates have raised concerns privately about how funds and resources are distributed. The bishop's criticism also touched on leadership style. He claimed that Sapp, while beloved for his music and preaching, has at times avoided difficult conversations within his church structure. By not addressing these internal issues publicly, the bishop argued, pastors risk creating an image that doesn't fully match reality, a situation that can mislead congregants who trust their leaders implicitly. What makes these allegations even more gripping is that both Bryant and Sapp are influential figures with massive followings. A single statement from either of them can reach millions of people instantly. This means that when a respected bishop calls them out, it's not just a minor news item. It becomes a viral story that sparks debates across social media, news outlets, and church communities worldwide. And here's the tension point. While fans and followers have defended both pastors, calling the bishop's accusations unfair or exaggerated, some insiders say that these criticisms are not entirely baseless. Anonymous sources claim that certain incidents, ranging from questionable financial decisions to lapses in moral judgment, have occurred but were never made public. This raises an important question for the audience. If true, how should congregants respond when their spiritual leaders are accused of behaviors that contradict their teachings? The story becomes even more complicated when you consider the culture of accountability, or lack thereof, within megachurches and gospel ministries. Many pastors operate with a level of autonomy that can make oversight difficult, and when leaders are also celebrities, the line between public persona and private reality can blur. The bishop's sermon forced the public to confront this uncomfortable truth. Even beloved pastors are not above scrutiny. This is where the story takes a dramatic turn. After addressing general allegations, the bishop didn't hold back. He hinted at specific incidents that, if true, could seriously tarnish the reputations of both Jamal Bryant and Marvin Sapp. While he didn't name every detail outright, his sermon included phrases like, "What happens behind closed doors?" and actions that don't match the message preached, statements that immediately sent the gospel community into a frenzy. For Jamal Bryant, the bishop suggested that some decisions in his ministry may have prioritized personal gain or status over the spiritual welfare of his congregation. While he didn't provide documented proof during the sermon, insiders who follow church politics closely say this could refer to previously reported legal disputes, lavish expenditures, and management decisions that raised eyebrows. The bishop emphasized that leadership is not just about charisma or large followings, it's about moral accountability. This implication was a serious accusation for someone as high-profile as Bryant, whose influence stretches across multiple states and thousands of congregants. Turning to Marvin Sapp, the bishop's comments were equally intense. He implied that there are internal ministry issues that have been intentionally downplayed or kept out of the public eye. Some followers speculate this could involve discrepancies in how donations and proceeds from Sapp's gospel empire are utilized. More importantly, the bishop questioned whether Sapp's public persona of humility and generosity always aligns with his private decisions. Again, while there is no formal evidence yet, these claims reignited debates that have simmered quietly in gospel circles for accusations. He openly challenged both pastors to respond publicly. This call for accountability struck a chord with both critics and supporters. Social media exploded almost immediately. Fans of Bryant flooded platforms defending their pastor, emphasizing his charitable work, powerful preaching, and positive influence. Many argued that the bishop's statements were exaggerated or part of a trend of attacking successful pastors. Meanwhile, critics applauded the bishop for bringing transparency into the conversation, arguing that even beloved church leaders must be held to high moral and ethical standards. News outlets and online gospel communities quickly picked up the story. Articles, blogs, and YouTube videos analyzing the bishop's sermon appeared within hours. Some commentators noted that this type of public confrontation between church leaders is rare, especially involving figures as prominent as Bryant and Sapp. Usually, disputes or criticisms remain behind closed doors, making this very public airing of concerns unprecedented. What makes the situation even more intriguing is the ripple effect on the congregations themselves. Members of both pastors' churches began asking difficult questions. Are we following leaders who practice what they preach? What happens if the allegations, even if unproven, reflect real patterns of behavior? The bishop's sermon forced a critical examination of faith, trust, and accountability, topics that many congregants might have avoided before this controversy. The tension in the story escalates further when you consider the stakes. These pastors are not just spiritual leaders, they're public figures with significant cultural influence. Bryant's sermons reach millions online, and Sapp's music has touched generations of gospel listeners. A single accusation, or even a hint of wrongdoing, can alter public perception dramatically. And with the bishop making these claims so publicly, the pressure is now on both Bryant and Sapp to address the issues in a way that reassures their followers, or risk further controversy and potential damage to their reputations. This is the moment that has everyone in the gospel world talking. After laying out general criticisms and pointing to past controversies, the bishop went even further, hinting at allegations that go beyond financial questions or leadership styles. According to his sermon, there are decisions and actions behind the pulpit that challenge the very integrity and authenticity of both Jamal Bryant and Marvin Sapp's ministries. While he did not publicly name every specific incident, the bishop suggested that some behaviors could be considered morally questionable or inconsistent with Christian teachings. For Jamal Bryant, this may include repeated patterns of personal controversy, legal disputes, and lifestyle choices that seem at odds with the spiritual guidance he provides. For Marvin Sapp, the bishop hinted at potential mismanagement in ministry operations and questioned whether all charitable claims reflect actual practice. He stressed that these issues are not just minor oversights. They are matters that could impact thousands of followers who place their trust and faith in these leaders. The most controversial part of the bishop's sermon, however, involved accountability. He challenged both pastors to publicly address these concerns and to show transparency in ways that are rarely demanded of leaders in high-profile ministries. He asked hard questions. Are you living what you preach? Are you fully honest with your congregation? And perhaps most importantly, are you willing to face scrutiny without hiding behind fame or influence? The reaction was immediate and intense. Social media platforms exploded with debates. Some viewers accused the bishop of overstepping, claiming that public criticism of respected pastors can be damaging and unfair. Others hailed him as courageous, arguing that no spiritual leader should be above accountability. YouTube comment sections filled with heated arguments, some defending Bryant's charitable work and influence, others calling for investigations into Sapp's ministry practices. Church insiders also reacted quietly but pointedly. Multiple sources have suggested that within the inner circles of these ministries, discussions about transparency, accountability, and leadership ethics have been ongoing for years, but never in such a public, high-pressure format. The bishop's sermon forced these issues into the spotlight, creating tension not only among the pastors themselves, but also among their staff, congregants, and wider audiences.